Chimera is delighted to bring you some of Scotland's most exciting new voices in our Brave New Words readings. With a PhD in conservation biology, Lorraine Wilson studied various obscure and wonderful animals worldwide before turning to writing. Her short fiction has been published widely, but for our Brave New Words, she is sharing a reading from her forthcoming debut novel, This Is Our Undoing, which is published by Boudicca Press Publishing in June 2021.
She had not been down to Belliescar since that day retrieving the deer tag, before James's arrest had unfolded her world. It was the same old woman she saw first, though, standing on a stool to tie vine stems up into the overhead frame. The river's voice was summer hushed, and somewhere a radio was playing through an open window. Dobry den, she said quietly, wanting to reach for the woman in case she fell. May I help? The woman looked at her with her arms still raised, lifted her gaze to study the empty road, then nodded slowly. Molia, she murmured, taking Lena's proffered hand to step back down. I'm Lena, Lena said, taking hold of a long vine full of tensile strength, weaving it carefully through the older branches. I know this, the woman said, and I am Barbarossa. Grandmother rose. Lena could not tell whether the informality was kindness or simple habit. Barbarossa passed her a length of twine, and Lena took it, holding the vine in place one-handed. Barbarossa, she said, her face turned up to the leaf-layered sky. I wonder if you could tell me who the woman was who I met when I was last here. She reached for another vine. Chickens muttered argumentatively somewhere nearby, and the old lady held up another bit of twine, waiting for Lena to take it before speaking. What is it you want with her? Lena had been right then, about who was in charge, and what of. I mean no harm, she said, turning to look at Barbarossa. Or trouble. No, and yet what else would bring you here? My sister's come to live with me, she said, shaking loosened vine bark from her face. She's 9, and adopted. Barbarossa nodded, folding her arms across the faded cotton of her dress. The chicken's argument rose to a peak, then subsided. She has lived through a lot of danger to get here. Our father was wounded and she had to leave him behind. She is... Lena sighed, dropped her arms and turned to look at the other woman. She's frightened, and I don't want her to be frightened any more. Barbarossa did not pretend to misunderstand her. So, she said, you do not perhaps agree with your friend in this thing? Had Tiago really been so explicitly permissive? Can I speak with her? Lena said, instead of answering. Barbarossa studied the street again, looking both ancient and unshakable. Her name is Onyana, she said eventually. House 17 if she is at home. Thank you, Lena said, but Barbarossa only waved Lena away. Thank you, Lena repeated, turning. You know about the old ways, yes? Lena looked back at the woman, the twisted trunks of vines rising behind her like an archway. Some, she said, thinking of Eva's carvings above the doors, her bowl of milk in the hearth. Yes, Barbarossa said. Then you will understand, perhaps, there can be a great anger in the forests if they are threatened. Anger that is not about, she turned a palm over in a slicing gesture, politics, but is instead about belonging. Lena frowned. This is people choosing to act, not myths or monsters. Monsters, Barbarossa repeated, and Lena heard the word again in a very different voice. Not monsters, no, but our people belong to these myths, so it is not possible to have one without the other. You do not understand this, I think, although the lost boy does. She could only mean Kai, with his moonlit hair and translucent eyes, but how had she heard of him? You are saying that the Martinitzes and the blood and the missing man, but Lena daren't mention him, are the work of an old god. Barbarossa made a sound that was part laugh and part pure derision. I am saying, Doctor, that the old gods are become angry, and my people are bound to those gods just as they are bound to this land. There was nothing in the woman's story beyond folklore and perhaps the need to feel protected by something more than ESF's impersonal possessiveness. But Lena laid her palm on the warm slabs of the wall. Why are they angry, your gods? Nodding, as if Lena had finally said something worthy, Barbarossa said, because you have brought monsters here, and if you do not banish them, then the forests will.